Have you ever wondered why people behave the way they do in relationships? Could it be because of their attachment styles? Attachment theory, a theory formulated by psychiatrist and psychoanalyst John Bowlby, a concept rooted deeply in developmental psychology, are essentially patterns of how we think, feel, and behave in relationships. They are formed during our early childhood interactions with our primary caregivers, and they can significantly influence the nature of our relationships throughout our lives. Imagine a child who is consistently comforted by their caregiver when in distress. This child learns that their caregiver is reliable, and they can depend on them for support. This child is likely to develop what we call a secure attachment style. Now, picture a child whose caregiver is inconsistent, sometimes responsive, sometimes not. This child becomes anxious and insecure, not knowing if their needs will be met. They may grow up to have an anxious or preoccupied attachment style. Then, consider a child whose caregiver is neglectful or dismissive of their needs. This child learns to rely on themselves and keeps emotional distance from others. This child may develop an avoidant or dismissive attachment style. Lastly, imagine a child whose caregiver is frightening or frightened themselves. This child becomes confused and fearful, not knowing how to seek comfort. They may grow up to have a disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style. These styles don't just stay in childhood, they follow us into adulthood, affecting how we form and maintain relationships, how we deal with conflict, and even how we perceive ourselves. Understanding our attachment style can offer us profound insights into why we act the way we do, and it can guide us in reshaping our relationships for the better. It's like being handed a roadmap to our own behaviors, and with this roadmap, we can navigate the complex terrain of our relationships more effectively. But it's not just about understanding our own attachment style. It's also about recognizing the attachment styles of those around us, which can help us foster healthier, more empathetic relationships. Now let's dive into these styles one by one. First up, we have anxious or preoccupied attachment style. This style is characterized by a deep craving for intimacy, often paired with an insecurity about the feelings of their partner. People with this style are frequently preoccupied with their relationships, and they may find themselves constantly seeking reassurance and affirmation from their partners. Imagine a scenario where you're waiting for a text back from someone you care about. The minutes tick by, turning into hours, and with each passing moment, your anxiety grows. You start to question if they're ignoring you, if they're upset with you, or worse, if they no longer care about you. This is a typical experience for someone with an anxious or preoccupied attachment style. Their fear of abandonment and rejection is a dominant force in their lives, driving them to be overly dependent on their relationships for emotional fulfillment. This dependency often leads to people-pleasing behaviors as they strive to maintain their relationships at all costs. When it comes to triggers, those with an anxious or preoccupied attachment style may display high anxiety, intrusive thoughts, and a constant need for attention and validation. Triggers can include perceived neglect or even seemingly harmless changes in a partner's behavior or routine. Their reaction to these triggers can vary, but it's common to see heightened anxiety, emotional outbursts, or even depression. They may also tend to ruminate on these triggers, obsessing over them in an attempt to understand or control the situation. But it's important to note that while these behaviors can be challenging, they are not insurmountable. With the right tools and understanding, individuals with an anxious or preoccupied attachment style can work towards healthier relationships. Therapy, self-reflection, and understanding one's triggers can all be part of a journey towards healthier attachment. In this journey, knowledge is power. Reading books by experts like Gabor Mate and Bessel van der Kolk can provide valuable insights into the roots of these behaviors and offer practical strategies for overcoming them. Next, we move to a style that seems to be the opposite, the avoidant or dismissive style. Imagine someone who prefers independence over intimacy. That's usually someone with an avoidant or dismissive attachment style. This style originates from early experiences with caregivers who may have been emotionally unavailable or rejecting. As a result, these individuals learn to rely solely on themselves, keeping others at a safe emotional distance. When it comes to emotional intimacy, they're like the prickly cactus in the desert, surviving with little nourishment, seemingly indifferent to the absence of close relationships. They value their independence and self-sufficiency above all, often perceiving relationships as confining. They're the masters of self-reliance, the champions of going it alone. But beneath this self-sufficient exterior, They're suppressing their feelings, hiding their vulnerabilities. They've built a fortress around their hearts, not to keep themselves in, but to keep others out. They've learned to mute their emotional needs, believing that showing emotions is a sign of weakness. They stifle their feelings, not because they don't have them, but because expressing them feels unsafe. Their response to triggers is often one of withdrawal. When faced with emotional demands or conflicts, they retreat into their shell, preferring solitude over confrontation. They dodge emotional discussions. They sidestep vulnerability. They're like the elusive cat, always landing on their feet, always maintaining their balance, no matter how precarious the situation. In relationships, they can appear detached or unresponsive. They struggle with emotional closeness, often pushing their partners away. They may seem cold, aloof, or indifferent, but it's their way of protecting themselves, their way of maintaining control. They've learned that to depend on others is to invite disappointment. But it's important to remember that this isn't a life sentence. Healing is possible. With self-awareness, understanding, and the right therapeutic tools, individuals with an avoidant or dismissive attachment style can learn to lower their walls, to trust, and to allow themselves to be vulnerable. They can learn that it's okay to rely on others, that it's okay to let people in. Now let's explore a more complex style, the disorganized or fearful avoidant style. The disorganized or fearful avoidant style is a bit of a paradox. Let's unravel it. This attachment style is characterized by a confusing mix of desire and fear when it comes to forming close relationships. Individuals with this style yearn for intimacy, yet they're also terrified of getting too close to others. It's a constant tug-of-war between wanting to be loved and fearing the vulnerability that comes with it. Imagine being in a relationship with someone who both craves your affection and pushes you away. One moment, they might be deeply involved, and the next, they might seem distant and detached. This unpredictable behavior can make their relationships quite chaotic and difficult to navigate. Trigger responses for individuals with a disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style can be quite varied. Some might resort to people-pleasing, bending over backwards to gain approval and avoid rejection. Others might struggle with commitment issues, fearing the constraints of a close relationship. High or low anxiety, anger, aggression, depression, or even symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder or complex post-traumatic stress disorder might surface. These individuals might also show a constant need for attention and validation, yet simultaneously struggle with intrusive thoughts and a fear of abandonment. It's like being caught in a loop, where their desire for love and their fear of being hurt are constantly at odds. However, it's important to remember that this isn't a life sentence. With the right support and resources such as therapy, self-hypnosis, mastering emotions, and journaling, individuals with a disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style can start to heal and work towards developing healthier attachment patterns. In essence, the disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style is a complex web of conflicting desires and fears. It's about craving closeness while fearing the very intimacy they seek, resulting in unpredictable and often chaotic relationships. And finally, we come to the secure attachment style, the goal for many of us. Lastly, secure attachment style, the ideal many of us strive for. This is an interdependent style and characterized by comfort and ease with intimacy and a natural trust towards partners. Those with a secure attachment style are not afraid to express their feelings or desires, creating an open and honest dynamic in their relationships. They have a healthy understanding of their own worth and respect the autonomy and individuality of their partners. Their confidence in their relationships allows them to maintain their own interests and friendships without feeling threatened or insecure. When it comes to handling triggers, they are often able to communicate their feelings effectively, rather than resorting to aggression or avoidance. They recognize their emotions, understand their origins, self-regulate, and express them in a healthy and constructive manner. This style of attachment doesn't mean they are immune to life's challenges, but it does equip them with the tools to navigate them in a healthier way. Understanding these styles is the first step towards improving our relationships and personal growth. So, what's your attachment style and how does it affect your relationships? It's a question that deserves our attention because our attachment styles form the foundation of how we connect with others. They shape our expectations, our fears, and our hopes in relationships. Whether we're anxiously preoccupied, avoidantly dismissive, fearfully avoidant, or secure, understanding these styles can lead to healthier, more fulfilling relationships. It can help us understand why we react the way we do and how we can break free from harmful patterns. There's no quick fix, but there are paths to healing. Through therapy, reparenting yourself, shadow work, reprogramming your subconscious mind, mastering your emotions, journaling your triggers, emotions and thoughts, meditation, and gaining more knowledge about your traumas via reading books can all be parts of your healing journey. It's a journey worth taking for ourselves and for those we share our lives with. For more in-depth videos in the future, please like and subscribe for more content. Thank you.